Good morning. Life's too short. This stuff's too important, so let's get to it. So this is something that a friend that I met last week while I was in Mexico for a conference. He helped me really understand that the biggest way to be able to help to start get my message out and the things that I'm trying to accomplish is just to start recording. And so there's so many things that I'm trying to do. And right now I'm out walking my dog and realize this is just as good as any time start talking about culture and why culture is so important. And I think why I've started to come to the realization of why culture is so important is because I've spent so much of my life trying to help teach leaders of really big companies and big corporations how to think about this kind of thing, because here's what typically happens. So in a scenario where somebody feels like they want to go into business and they feel like they need to go the typical standard route, they will go to college, they'll probably study something in business, or their parents will probably make them or force them, or sometimes they really want to do it. And they'll go through all their classes, they'll say, hey, I need to get an internship, I need to get with a big company, I need to figure this stuff out. And then they find a company, they get there and they think, oh yes, my world is now going to change. I found that big company, it's gonna give me the experience, I'll be there maybe 2-3 years, I'm gonna hop all around. Because that is now a normal situation for how kind of corporate business life is. Whereas back in the day when my dad and maybe others were, you're with a company and you're with them for 30 years, your whole life, you get that gold watch or gold whatever and have a retirement program and you're done. But things have been so different for so long that we need to completely change up the mindset that we have about how we treat people and why we have them come into a company. So back to that story concept, you get someone that comes in, they're so excited, they're started working, and then they get a boss. And that boss may be a jerk, maybe really nice, but most of the time they're kind of in the middle. And what I mean by that is they come, they say, hey, you're gonna be a good fit. You're gonna be someone that's going to, in their words, do what I tell you to do. And I'm gonna teach you the ropes. I'm gonna teach you the way of things to do it. And the reason why they're gonna teach them those things is because that's what they have found to be successful to make their boss happy. And the reason why they do that is because they have found those things to make their boss happy, and then boss, and then boss, and then boss. So when you really start to think about it, they're not necessarily hired to do maybe a creative or imaginative or a new kind of job. What they're actually doing is they are doing what their boss says is a creative job. And I don't know about you, but that just doesn't make sense and doesn't feel right, because is the boss the company? Is the boss the business? Is the boss the one that is trying to help connect better with customers overall for what it is you're trying to do? No, they're not. They usually, what ends up happening is this person, they were promoted or hired in, but usually they were promoted because they were really good at what they did with their job. They stood out, they were either a high performer or they really understood the concepts that they needed to teach and do. But then once they became a boss, they realized, oh, okay, now I know so much, I need to help coach and train and educate my team so that they actually do the things that are correct. And that is how things start going south. That one transition of one person is what turns a really innovative or engineering or high potential company into a corporate world. Because the corporate world is built on the ability to be able to control and mitigate risks and be able to make sure that things happen exactly how it is planned. Because once you start to create plans, it's okay, dude. Let's go. It's okay. By the way, I have a 1-year-old dog, and so now trying to help him understand that we don't have to chase every single squirrel and every single rabbit, but that's beyond him. It's okay. So what I was saying was, that's the transition where it gets impossible to go back, because once you start getting into how you control, how you are trying to avoid risks, because you've started to build something big and it's bigger than you, and you start to get nervous and anxious and worried because what happens if somebody else messes it up? Especially for an entrepreneur or a founder, someone that has started this business from scratch, they are extremely protective of all the work and energy that they've put in to get this thing to happen, right? I mean, think about whether you're a business owner or not, or even if you're in school. Like, if you started to do a project and it's a group project and people are not pulling their weight, I mean, I've had that situation so many times, and it's just so annoying and so frustrating. Think if you're a business owner, how even more frustrating it is when you try to hire people, try to get them in to come do the work that you want them to do, and they don't get it. That is why corporate structures end up happening. It's all about safety. It's all about minimizing risk and making sure that complex things stay complex, so that those that are making the decisions about it stay the ones making the decisions, because they know how complex everything is. My friends, once you start doing that inside of a business, you're done. Sure, you could have success. You could get big, and then you have a bunch of people that are getting big paychecks or doing big jobs, but the life, the energy, the excitement, the culture is gone. We can't let that happen. There is too much in this world and too much in this life to just let great ideas die. And people that are excited to give great ideas be pushed down by bureaucracy and pushed down by, not now, wait, give me data, give me research, prove it to me that this will work. Otherwise, we're not going to do it. And that is so messed up. Because think about this. Aristotle, he was one of the original founders, the original founder of the scientific method, which is, the basic if-then scenario, like, if this is going to happen, then this will be the result kind of thing. Well, he made a statement like almost 3,000 years ago, probably 2,500 years ago. History is not my strong suit in dates. But he said, if you think about something like gravity, for example, if I took a rock and I dropped it here where I am right now, would it fall? And if it does, okay. What if I took that same rock and I went all over the world and I dropped it? Would it have the same results? Probably. Would it have the same results at night, in the morning, in the afternoon? Yes? Okay, then following all of those examples, that is something that if you gather information or data about, it will be consistent and you can predict it for the future. And that is how the whole business world is based. It is based on data, it's based on information and things that you can predict. But what people forget or they don't realize happened was he issued a very strong warning or a caution after he made that statement about how to collect information. And that was, this only works for things that are predictable. If you are going into the area of things like innovation, imagination, new concepts to explore, this way doesn't work. You can't collect data from the future. You can't collect information from the future. And you shouldn't use data from the past to predict the future for things that are unknown. So you find the best possible options and you go from there. Now, I'm paraphrasing a little bit of what he said, but that's the gist of it. So this is why this is so important to understand and so cool to get, is if you want to stay innovative, if you want to make sure that that mentality of two people in a garage trying to build something out, and you don't want to go corporate, you have to figure out in your culture how to maintain a spirit of innovation and imagination. Here's how you do it. You have to understand the concept of what business strategy actually means. Business strategy is not a plan. It has nothing to do with making plans. Plans are things that you control. Plans are things that you decide what's going to happen. You check kind of the path, the milestone, the kind of the steps along the way to get there, and you can control the outcomes, either by how you treat your people, how you do sales, how you do marketing, how you do supply chain, how you deliver your products, whatever it is. That's not strategy. Strategy follows the basic statement of, if something, put it in parentheses, is going to be a great idea, then what about it needs to be true? That's it. That's the definition of strategy. If something's going to be a great idea, then what about it needs to be true? Because what that does is it is driven by a hypothesis, a truth that you don't know, but you're trying to see what is true about it. You're predicting the future. So in order to do that, you need to start reverse engineering or thinking backwards from when it's actually a success and going all the way backwards to the beginning. Think about if that happened inside of a business that you're in or people you know, if everyone in the business was focused on how to create a new reality rather than trying to prove the old reality. It would completely change the way people interact. It would completely change the way people make decisions and would completely change the way that profits are made. Because if you start to really hone in on why the business exists in the first place, that answer is not to make money. And sometimes it isn't to do some big, amazing earth life-changing thing either. Sometimes it's in between, but it has to have a purpose. It has to have a reason of why it exists. That is what makes customers want to buy from you. That's what makes people want to work for you. And that is how you create a legacy beyond the business of what you're trying to create. So that's the thought for today. I want you to think about what you're doing in your job, in your role, or if you own a business, in your business. What is the actual purpose of why my company or my business exists? Can I clearly state that in less than 10 words? And does it create an emotional pull? If it doesn't, take time today to figure out why. And I'm even saying stockbrokers, investment funds, real estate, taxes, there is an emotional connection to everything we do because every business that exists is designed to address a human emotional need. Because if it didn't address a need, the business would not exist. So think about that today and try to figure out what your purpose is and why your business exists.